Joining us now, New York Times chief White House correspondent Peter Baker and NPR national political correspondent Mara Liasson. Mara, good to see you. Peter,
good to be here.
Let's talk about all of this. Donald Trump says that he's going to have a comprehensive policy within a week or so. He's been all over the lot on abortion and now on contraception. Are Donald Trump and the Republican Party more broadly just struggling to come up with a cohesive stance that's going to satisfy all of their, their different constituencies in the party?
Yeah, it's rather remarkable that here we are in 2024 and we're having an argument about contraceptions. That did not seem to be a debate that was going to be reopened more than 60 years after the Supreme Court said there's a constitutional right to contraception, but here we are. It's possible that he misunderstood the question in that interview, and he thought that they were talking about, abortion drugs or drugs that are known to cause abortion, and that not talking about standard contraception. But in any case, certainly it raises the question of what he's talking about and why he would have a policy on contraception to begin with, and what that policy could be. So I think that it keeps the Republicans on the defensive on a subject in which they have already seen political trouble as a result.
Yeah, and this is, of course, after the IBF controversies in Alabama, Mara. I also want to ask you about the White House position on all of this and the campaign position, because they're seizing on this.
This is one of the best issues for Democrats. Republicans are like the dog that caught the car. For years and years, all they had to say was, I'm pro-life. They didn't have to answer the question, when does life begin? Does it begin at conception? Therefore, destroying an embryo is murder. I mean, they have been able to avoid all this. And every single time abortion rights have been on the ballot since Roe was overturned, the abortion rights side has won. That doesn't mean it's going to turn red states blue, but it does mean that it's going to help Democrats. The Biden campaign thinks it'll help them turn out suburban women and also flip some suburban women. This issue is going to be good for them.
And, Peter, let's talk about the student loans, because the president today is trying to announce, or he's going to announce, a new round of federal student debt forgiveness, totaling some $7.7 billion. Now, this obviously is a really important initiative, given what's happening with young people who are angry with him on other issues. But they've also stumbled. The rollout of this whole program has been unnecessarily complex. I mean, there's a lot of criticism on the Hill and elsewhere and among recipients about the way this is working, right?
Yeah, this is obviously an important issue. As you rightly point out, Gaza and the protests on college campuses have gotten the most attention. They're obviously dramatic pictures, but if you look at polls, Gaza is actually relatively low on the list of main concerns for younger generation. They are concerned about economics. They're concerned about their ability to get a job, to find housing, and to be able to pay off loans when they get out of school. Those are big, big issues for many young people. And there's a disappointment on the part of some of them, according to polls, that the president hasn't delivered as much as they thought he was going to. Remember, he planned to have a much larger, more comprehensive student loan forgiveness program that was struck down by the Supreme Court. So he's been trying to do it in this piecemeal way to try to get around the legal issues. That's obviously caused some hassles and uncertainty on the part of young people. But what he's trying to do with this announcement is say, look, I'm on your side. I'm the guy who's trying to take care of these issues that we know are important to you, and give me time and give us the ability to keep doing it.
And, Mara, this is important for him today to try to get this message out, because, frankly, the Trump trial has been dominating the news, and Joe Biden has been doing things, campaigning and making announcements and cutting ribbons and pointing things out. He has not. They've been frustrated.
They've been frustrated. Tens of millions of dollars have been spent. Many events have been held. President Biden has been trying, but the public polls are not budging. Donald Trump still has a lead in the battleground states. They're very frustrated. What they can do is use the power of the presidency. They can use executive orders like this one. They can reclassify marijuana. They can do everything they can to appeal, especially to young people, and hope that it changes the dynamic.
And, of course, the sort of high-risk, high-reward debate initiative. Peter, before I let you go, Rishi Sunak, the Prime Minister, has called a snap election to, frankly, a lot of surprise. You and I both follow this, but he's right now speaking outside Downing Street, and it's for July 4th. So it's thinking that he has an advantage now. We've all thought, that, frankly, that the Tories were on their back feet and that this might be a time for Labour to come back.
Yeah,
What do you
I
think?
think we had thought. I think we had thought there'd be an election later in the year. This is obviously trying to move it up. In a way, he's kind of taking a page from Biden's book in calling for that early debate. Right? Let's go ahead and get going. In effect, is his thinking here, obviously, but it has a huge risk reward capacity here because, in fact, you're right. The Tories have not been doing well politically. They have been, they have been in power now for quite a while. They're defending a lot of seats that don't seem like they're going to be able to hold on to. And I think that that's a big risk that he's taking here. But it's coming right at a time, by the way, in which there are going to be a lot of international meetings. The president is going over to Europe in just a few weeks to celebrate the Normandy anniversary. He's going to be back there a few days after that in Italy for the G7 meeting, in which the prime minister will presumably be there. And then they have the NATO summit. So this is actually coming at a very important time in terms of European solidarity and alliances.
And at a time of confusion and dismay over Palestinian state, over, Gaza, Tehran is obviously a big unknown. And so this gives Sunak a time where he can, during the election of their very brief election campaigns, a couple of weeks, he can be the world leader on the stage with the G7 and others. And it's kind of the best scenario, most likely, for him to look like a player and be a player, key ally. Peter, lots of travel, lots of ceremonies, and now a British election in the mix of the whole thing. Thank you so much. Mara Liasson, great to see you.